So after you cut your images out, you can try different types of glues, and after you try them, you will know what works better for you. So here I have rubber cement, Elmer's white glue, and a regular glue stick. So I think if you try all of them, you can decide which ones work best for you. Right now I'm going to show you how to use rubber cement. So when you use rubber cement, there's a trick that really helps you to glue your images without having too much excess glue. And what you want to do is decide where you will place your image and cover that area with rubber cement. And you just want a thin layer. You don't want to put too much there. You spread it out evenly in the shape of your cutout. And then you will also do a layer, add a layer onto your cutout, also with a thin line. And remember that if you were doing a collage, an actual artwork, you would do this on a separate sheet of paper, so you're not getting any excess glue in your artwork. And then I'm going to just leave it alone and let it dry. And now I'm going to move to the next glue, and then we'll come back to this when it dries. The reason you want the rubber cement to dry before actually gluing the shape to your surface is because it will allow for a more smooth gluing, and you won't have any bumps in the surface. I noticed that a lot of students don't wait for it to dry. They just glue it together, and then there's glue coming out of the sides. So this is a much better technique. Here I have my white glue, and you can have a piece of paper that you use to spread it onto your image like this, or I like to use my finger just because I can feel it, you know, and I can sense how much I need to add. You just need a very thin layer once again, and make sure that you get all of the edges. And then you place it carefully on the area where you want it to stay. And you tap it gently. Just be very careful not to get glue onto the actual object. And what you can also do is just place a piece of paper towel or paper on top and just do this. What happens with white glue is that sometimes you get it on the actual image and then it's difficult to remove, so you have to be careful not to get any glue onto the cutout. And here I'm going to also use a glue stick, and that's another approach. With glue stick, there's very minimal amount of glue being used, so you can also try it and see if it works for you. Also make sure you get all of the edges. So if, for example, if you have really tiny shapes, let's say they're this small, you know, a glue stick is not going to be very convenient just because, you know, it will move around and you can't get the little shape to stay in place. So what you can do is use the back of your paintbrush or just something that's sharp and add tiny dots on your object. And keep your object in place, and then you would pick up that object with something sharp and flip it over and glue it. And now I can see that my rubber cement has dried. Sometimes the cutout will glue itself around the edges, so you want to go in and gently remove it without tearing it. Then you will place it down on the area that you already covered with rubber cement, and it immediately attaches itself seamlessly. Now you will notice that there is still some extra rubber cement around it that is visible. So I'm going to use my rubber square. This is something you can buy in any art store, and it's basically just a piece of rubber that picks up any excess rubber cement. So I'm going to gently move it around tore a little piece by accident. So you have to be careful how you use it around small details. I'm gonna move it around and it will pick up all of the excess rubber cement. So this is a really nice tool to clean your collage up and not have any extra rubber cement on your collage. And sometimes you'll get little pieces of little bits of glue around the edges, and you just want to make sure that you thoroughly pick them up. And here I have a tiny bit that got accidentally torn, so I could make just a small, whoops, tool out of paper and go in and just add just a little bit of white glue, because it's much harder to go in there with rubber cement and attach that area. And then for collage pieces that you glued with white glue, and if perhaps by accident you got a little bit of glue on the surface, you can try very gently scraping it off with an exacto knife, but you have to be very careful about that because you don't want to damage your image. So here are the different types of cutouts and gluing techniques, so why don't you try them and see which one you like the most.